Okay, I think we are live. Hello, you guys. Thank you for joining me. Sorry, I am a couple minutes late. First, I want to just make sure that the audio sounds good and you guys can see me. Everything's working. If somebody can just let me know that all is good. Yay! I'm excited too. Oh, greetings! Greetings. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. All is good? Awesome. Awesome. I got a new mic set up and everything because I know my previous lives, people were saying that the audio wasn't that great. So wanted to double check and make sure. Awesome. Yay. Wonderful. Wonderful. I hope you all are having a amazing day so far, or evening, morning, wherever in the world you might be. Oh, it's so good to be back. It's so good to be live. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I know it was kind of last minute, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to come on and chat with y'all. Good, 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 good. Good, good. All right, let's dive right in to some questions. R. Davis. Let's see. I remember you recommended meditation for manifestation in one of your videos. Can you share how you meditate? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's different types of meditation, obviously. The one that I prefer the most is kind of a focus meditation where I really just close my eyes, relax, and just focus on the breath, focus on the physical sensation of the breath, and redirect my mind, clear my mind, and just really focus on getting centered, focused on going deeper, so to speak. And I meditate every morning, I meditate every night for an hour each time. And it has done wonders, wonders for my practice and for being able to focus, for being able to redirect my mind if it started to go to a place I didn't want it to go, and really all around become more aware of my thoughts, become more aware of the inner conversations. So, I mean, there's no, I guess, wrong way to meditate. That's how I personally like to do it. I know for some people, a guided meditation works better. And if that's the case, then a guided meditation is the way to go. Hi, Lacey. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. It was wonderful talking to you too. Let me see. Okay. Greetings, greetings, greetings. All right. Hi, Juan. Oh my goodness. Hi. Hi. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Yeah. This gal Sal asked, in one of your videos, you mentioned revising your family's wealth. I have a similar issue. How did you do that? So I went over it in that video where I touched on it. It was a revision that I did. I had revised, essentially, I created a new memory from my past. So instead of playing out the old story, I created a revised memory that I was walking off the bus and I was walking up to my house, and it was a gorgeous house. It was a giant house. And my parents greeted me at the door and that they were dressed well, basically implying that we were well to do. We were better off because I grew up in, we were not rich by any stretch. Let's just put it that way. So when I created this new memory, when I revised this new memory, it basically implied that this was the state that I was coming from. This was the timeline that I had come from. And from that, a lot of the limiting beliefs that I had around money, like all of the setbacks that I had around money, the stress around money, that just began to fade. And I noticed a huge difference in just my own state and how I approached money from creating that new memory. But I believe I also talked about it more in that video. And if you're not sure about revision or don't know too much about revision, I made some videos about that one as well. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Amy. Amy asks, hey, Missy, I was wondering, how do I know if I'm in the end state, and how do I know if my manifestation is close? I do feel more at peace with myself in my manifestation, but sometimes I have mixed emotions. That is a fantastic question. You know that you are in the end state because you are your inner conversations, your thoughts, the overall feeling. Oh, almost knocked over my microphone. The overall feeling that you carry is from that state. So you know that you're in the end if the natural thoughts, the natural feeling that comes up through your day to day is more aligned with that desired state, that end state. If you are noticing, consistent negative thoughts, consistent thoughts of the old state, of that old man, if you notice reactions are similar, these are indications that keep persisting in moving into that state of the wish fulfilled. Keep imagining yourself in that state of the wish fulfilled. And really, it's all in, like, look inside, it's internal. The changes and the shifts happen internally first. And your inner conversations and all of the mental activity is going to be based upon the dominant state that you've been dwelling in. And so if you notice that you are moving more in that direction, if you are coming more from that desired state than from the previous one, that's how you know you're living in the end. Hello, hello, hello. Ashbury. I totally butchered that name, probably. I'm so sorry. But you asked, how does one know if you're doing a revision right? Does the memory literally change in your mind, or just the sting of it goes away? Also, an awesome question. So, revision, it really depends on the memory. It really depends on the reaction that we would have to that memory. A lot of times, you will at least react differently. So when you revise an event that happened and the old memory pops up in your day to day, you won't have the same kind of reaction to it. Like, you may not have any reaction to it, whereas before it was something that really upset or triggered you. And there have been a lot of times too where I've revised memories that I completely forgot. Like, they completely went away. And in fact, I have memories that I know that they are revised, but for the life of me, I don't know what that old story was. I don't know what that old memory was. So the goal and the purpose is to get us out of that state from the past and remove those limiting beliefs and assumptions that were impressed. Because if something different happened, we wouldn't have had those limiting beliefs impressed in the first place. So you know it's effective, you know that it's working because you're not having the same response to that old story, that old memory isn't coming up as much, if at all. Things like that. You'll notice a difference in how you interact with that old memory. Natalia asked, is getting into the Sabbath necessary in your opinion? Like being in the end, but not in the Sabbath? That is an awesome question. And it's actually one that I've gotten a couple times, so I'm glad that one got brought up. Is it necessary for it to come to pass? I wouldn't say that it's a requirement. No. I've had plenty of manifestations come to pass where I certainly was not in the Sabbath state. I may have still had those moments of even like a couple moments of even double-mindedness or a couple moments of uncertainty. That's, I wouldn't say that it's a requirement. It is a very good indication if you are in the Sabbath. That's assurance that it is done, and it is that peace and fulfillment that comes with that knowing that it is done. But do we have to reach the Sabbath in order for something to manifest? I, I wouldn't say that. You are welcome. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any, any advice on how to live in the end if I want to work remotely and live in another country with my love? Absolutely. Absolutely. For any kind of manifestation, for any kind of desire that you have, when thinking of a way to bring about that state and embody that state, the first thing that I would get familiar with is which technique or what works best for you. Is that SATs? Is that something like the lullaby method? Is that I remember when? Is that affirmations? Is it inner conversations? The most important part, no matter what you're trying to manifest, no matter what it is, the most important thing to keep in mind is the path of least resistance. We want this to feel as natural and effortless as possible. Now, that doesn't mean that we may not have some initial resistance at first, but for some people, SATs resonates more. For some people, affirmations helps them get into that state and maintain that state better. So finding a way to move into that wish fulfilled, that desired state, and maintain it, I would do that first and foremost, and that comes to anything. And really creating a scene, creating that outline that implies that you are now living in a new country, working remotely with your love, whether that's visualizing a scene, whether that's a conversation that you're having with him or a loved one, with the implication in there that is implying you are now in this state, whatever that might be. But experiment a little bit and practice different techniques and different methods that help you best in maintaining that state and really feeling that state. I hope that helps. You are so welcome. Renee, Renee, if I pronounced your name wrong, I'm so sorry. But you asked, I have been doing SATs for almost a month and a half, being married to my SP, but I've yet to see any progress. Do I just let go or do I keep doing SATs? That's an awesome question. So when it comes to, and I've made a couple videos touching on what to do if you don't see any progress in the 3D, how to approach that. So definitely make sure to check over some of the videos that I made touching on this subject. But essentially, persistence above all else until we really begin to make that shift and that change. And always remember too that the shift happens internally first. We notice a feeling, we notice that change in how we feel, right? So it could be a couple of different things as to, you know, your practice. Are you, when you're doing SATs, are you really able to feel it? Are you able to embody that imaginal scene? Are you very diligent about your mental diet throughout the day? So just different things to keep in mind as far as like if we're not noticing any progress in the 3D, it's not to say that it's not happening and it's not working, right? But we do want to be very mindful in our day to day, outside of when we're doing our imaginal acts and doing this practice. Where are we dwelling? What are we thinking? Where is our mindset? Are we reacting? Are we looking? Are we longing? Where are we dwelling in any given point of the day? And this is where mental diet comes in and being very diligent about that. And otherwise, keep persisting. Keep persisting. And this is why we persist, because though we may not see it in the 3D now, though there may not be any indication that it's coming or that it's on its way, there is always movement. We just might not be able to see it. But there is always, always, always movement taking place. So keep persisting, keep going. Da, 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 da. Is the multiverse possible? I love that question. Is the multiverse possible? Yes. Yes, we are living in a multiverse. We are living in infinite states, infinite realities. Absolutely. Lynette asked, how did you become better at visualizing? Oh man, practice. Practice, 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 practice. When I was new to visualizing, when I started doing it for the first time, I was terrible at it. Oh, I was so bad. I couldn't see anything. Images were blurry. I could not keep my focus on one thing to save my life. Like anything else, it takes practice. And the way I like to look at it and the way that I like to try to explain imaginal acts and using our imagination is think of the imagination like a muscle. And we need to work out that muscle. We need to practice getting it stronger and stronger. Because for most of us, we're not familiar with this type of visualization or doing SATs in this type of practice. So just like with learning anything new, it takes practice. So what I did was I used in my day to day, I would do some visualization exercises. I would, take an object, I would look at that object, I would try to get a clear picture, as clear of a picture in my mind of this object, whether it's like a piece of fruit or a baseball or whatever. It could be anything. But I would try to get as clear of an image as I could, and I'd close my eyes and I'd try to replicate that object and to the best of my ability and give it all of the tones and create as lifelike of a picture in my mind as I could. And I just kept practicing and practicing, and lo and behold, it started to get easier. I started to be able to incorporate more tones of reality in my imagination. So yeah, I practiced a lot. Mm-hmm. John asked, is it normal to feel depressed when changing a self-image? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I had moments of sadness. When I really turned my attention to self concept and really building my self concept and basically recreating myself as I saw myself, my identity, and who I was. Absolutely, there were moments where I felt depressed or I felt that anxiousness. I'd argue that is fairly common. It is fairly common. on this journey, it's not at all uncommon to have those dips and those peaks and those valleys at times. That comes with change. That comes with the change that we are implementing, not just in the 3D, but for ourselves. Yeah, yeah. Bee Lily Cat. Missy, how can we explain people who don't know the law when they get their SPs back without self concept and without SATs? It can't all be self concept. They get SP back without hot and cold and visualizing. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I'm very, I try to be very uh, repetitive in reminding people that it's not that we have to do a bunch of techniques to manifest. I mean, we're always manifesting, we're always doing it, right? So it's not that we have to do a bunch of things or jump through a bunch of hoops, and it's the techniques are tools. They are to help us. They're think of them like vessels that we can use to help us embody that new state and feel that new state, right? So, do people manifest their SPs without doing techniques and without working on self concept? I mean, yeah. But I would argue that the reason why self concept is so important and the reason that I hammer on about it so much is that yes, we can manifest without changing our concept of self, but the odds of falling back into old patterns, the odds of us going back into that old state where, the state that messed things up in the first place is very high because we are creatures of habit. And so, while yes, we don't need to do that to manifest our person back, the point of this should be we want to grow and evolve as a person. We want to experience this world and we want to experience our desires, whatever they may be, without anything holding us back, without that resistance, without those limitations, without those negative concepts of self. So, can you manifest a person? You can manifest anything without working on self concept, without doing much of anything except just accepting that it's a fact and it's done. And if you are stubbornly persistent in that, absolutely. But we want lasting change. We don't want to repeat patterns of past behavior and past events and past circumstances. So I can just say from personal experience that I've manifested a specific person from a place of not working on self and also from a place of working on self. It wasn't until I really focused on me and changing my aspects of self that were sabotaging that I created lasting change. So, yeah. So, Missy, in your visualization now, you actually see the object when you close your eyes, colors, etc. Yes, now when I visualize, now when I do SATs, I'm able to see and feel and add all of those imaginal senses to my imaginal act. Yes. Yes, absolutely. But that certainly wasn't the case when I first started. Hi, Missy. When in conflict with somebody, can you express your concerns or should you manifest a different outcome? Revision. When in conflict with someone, can you express your concerns or should you manifest a different outcome? So, I mean, I wouldn't say that there is a right or wrong way. If you are feeling a strong pull have, to express your concerns and to have that conversation, I mean, you're more than welcome to. But for me personally, and from just everything that I have done and what I've seen, it's I don't see that point in expending that energy whenever something happens that we don't want. If somebody's showing up in a way that we don't want, if somebody says something that we don't like, we can revise that. We can change that. That said, we also don't want to bottle anything. We don't want to just, shove everything down. If you are feeling um, if you feel a very strong urge to say something and react, then do so. Don't ever suppress what you're feeling. I would say if you are ever finding yourself in a place where you're in a confrontation with somebody, the best thing that you can do is revise it. Honestly, walking away and revising it. I've done both. I can tell you which works best. Hello, Missy. How to stop accidentally thinking of bad thoughts during visualizing and reacting to that thought and afraid of that thought and worried it might accidentally manifest. So, how to stop accidentally thinking bad thoughts during visualizing and reacting. So, going back to what I mentioned at the start of this Q&A, the focus meditation, the focus attention meditation, practicing that in your day to day. The point of that and what that meditation helps us do is redirect. If a thought comes up, we learn to redirect our mind, but also it teaches us how to keep our focus and how to stay on that focus without our mind wandering. So that has been a huge game changer for me. Huge game changer for me. It sounds very simple too. It sounds like a very simple exercise. It's not always as easy as it sounds, but just that focus attention meditation. And as far as reacting to that thought and being afraid of that thought, worried that it might manifest, we don't need to fear our thoughts. We do not need to fear our thoughts. If you have a negative thought pop up in your mind and you have a quick moment of reacting, that in and of itself does not mean it is going to manifest. I mean, if for peace of mind, if that happens, you can always set an intention that never happened. You can always revise that you had a wonderful meditation session or visualizing session. At the end of the day, you are the one who decides. You're the one in control. We don't have to be in fear of our thoughts because we are always the ones in the driver's seat. We are always the ones in control. Always. And it's really important. And I've talked about it quite a few times. We do not want to live in fear of our thoughts. And, oh God, I had a bad thought and now it's going to manifest. That's an incredibly stressful way to live. And it's no, don't accept that. Reject those thoughts outright. Visualize. Missy, how would you install a belief? I always get into a relationship with the exact man that I want. So, the same way that we instill any belief, really, the way that we instill any belief, we impress this, we impress that belief, and we do that through the medium of feeling. Our subconscious speaks in the medium of feeling, which is why feeling is so important. Ask yourself, what would that feel like? if that were true. If you were now living as that person who always got the relationship with the guy that she wanted, how would that feel? What would that look like? And carry that with you. Carry that feeling with you. Embody that feeling as much as you can and to the best of your ability. That's how it's the immersion in that new feeling through the imagination that instills it as a new belief. Malin asks, do we have to take action in the 3D when manifesting, or do we just go into the end and see what happens? We just need to go to the end. We don't have to take action. We don't have to jump through any hoops. We don't have to just go to the end. Go straight to the end and keep yourself there. Try to live in that end as much and as often as possible. Mm-hmm. Statement and then question. I manifested 11 intentional desires. Wow. In one day, the most I've ever done. Have you had multiple manifestations in one day? And if so, how did that happen for you? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's amazing that you had 11 intentional manifestations come to pass in one day. One important thing to remember as far as the timing that it takes, the time that it takes for a manifestation to come to pass is directly related to the naturalness of the feeling. So for some things more than others are likely going to feel more natural. They're going to feel just we're not going to have that resistance against them. We're not going to have that feeling of pushing back or disbelief or doubt. And the more of the naturalness that it feels, the more that this feels completely normal, effortless, then you will see things coming to pass. And you can see a lot of things come to pass in a short period of time, in a single day, even. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, we're manifesting all the time. All of us are. But yes, I have absolutely had days where multiple manifestations have come to pass. And it's, again, remember it's the direct correlation in the naturalness of the feeling. JKP asks, hey Missy, when I focus on making my sad scene feel real, it takes my attention away from feeling good about the scene. Which one should I focus on? I'm a little confused about your question. So correct me if I have this totally backwards, but what I think you're trying to ask is when you're focusing on the details, you're taken away from feeling good or feeling any emotion, if I right. And if that's the case, that is something that a lot of people struggle with. Sometimes we get carried away with the smaller technical details of our scene, and we don't want to get too caught up in the finite details. I mean, yes, we want to, incorporate taste, touch, hearing, sound, whatever the strongest senses are. We want to incorporate that in the scene. But even if it's not perfectly detailed, even if you can't see every single object or location minuscule details, it's not the end of the world. As long as you have the picture and you know what's going on, you can just keep practicing as you loop it, getting those tones right and getting what should happen is that as you add more tones and as you begin to loop that scene and impress that scene, like the emotions will come naturally. So it is kind of a balance of we do want to incorporate those imaginal senses, but we don't want to get so caught up in the details that we're completely losing the plot. And that is the feeling, that feeling. And again, this is something that does come with practice. Sats, I mean, for me personally, and for a lot of people that I've talked to, Sats takes practice. And where most of us aren't used to using our imagination in this way. So just keep at it, take it easy, take it slow, just work on trying to at least get the picture as semi-clear in your mind as you can, and then just repeat that, loop it until you begin to naturally invoke that feeling. And it should come naturally. Good. I've not. Charlie says, it is not feeling natural when I am imagining. Am I doing something wrong? Not necessarily. It could be that this is something that you just need to practice. Again, SATs is one of those things that like just like learning anything else that's new, just like learning how to ride a bike, driving a car, things that we haven't done before and have been familiar with, it can really just take that repetition, playing with it, playing with visualization exercises, practicing using our imagination in first person, practicing, feeling yourself in that imaginal scene in the first person as it happening. Like it's sometimes we need to just take it in steps. So are you doing something wrong per se? It's for a lot of people, we don't have that feeling connected to it right away. Oh, like for me, I also had the same thing. I wasn't able to tap into that feeling when I was first starting. So again, it's one of those, we practice, we add more tones, start with the strongest imaginal sense that you have. So if hearing is best, if you are a better visualizer, if the sense of touch, whatever it might be, start your scene with that. Lead with the strongest imaginal sense first. And then as we turn it, as we loop it, just get a little bit more clear, a little bit more clear. And you will get to a point where it will bring in more of that feeling. It does take practice. Amy asks, how do I know what my autopilot state is? Good question. Good question. Your autopilot state is also, you can call your dominant state. It's the state that I can't talk today. It's a state that you're in more often than not. It's the state that you are most familiar with. It's the state that you naturally, without trying, turn back to. And so really it's just practice awareness, practice being observant, check in with yourself throughout your day to day and note where your mind is, note any inner conversations, mental dialogue, note the thoughts that you're having, note your reactions, because all of these are going to entail what your dominant state of consciousness is. So where you are more often than not. And that just comes finding out what that is just being aware, being very keenly aware. Check in with yourself, notice where you are dwelling. That will tell you everything. Ariel Fisher asked, do you have to do sats every night for it to work? No. Mm-mm. I mean, you don't even have to do sats to make it work. Sats is one technique of many. And it's just that. It's just that vessel. It's just that tool that can help us feel ourselves in that state. But do we have to do it every night? Do we have to, like, no. Mm-mm. Barbie asked, is it true that there is no such thing as intuition or being able to read people well? Yes, intuition, what we've grown to know as intuition is our beliefs. It's our beliefs. If we have a strong feeling about another person, if we have those hunches, that's a belief because everyone is us pushed out. Everybody is mirroring our self concept. So if we have assumptions, if we have that gut feeling about another person, that's our belief, that's our assumption. Because again, everything is just a perfect out picturing. Anton asks, any advice on correct practice of sats? I gotta make some more sats videos. Y'all seem to be on a sats kicker, and I love it. Any advice on correct practice of sats? Because after doing visualization, I can't sleep and the mind gets too alert. Yeah, I had that problem. I had the same thing. I either had my mind get too wound up or I would fall asleep before I could actually get into my scene. Yeah, I mean, a couple different ways, a couple different tips, I guess, things to help with that practice. Number one is try practicing in a different time of day. Try practicing sats during the afternoon or earlier in the evening or even in the morning. Try to just get familiar with the drowsy state, getting yourself into that drowsy state and not so and just starting there, just practicing getting yourself more relaxed and going deeper and more relaxed and going deeper and see how far you can go with that. And I found that when I was new with sats, I found that when I tried to do it at night initially, I'd wind up either falling asleep or staying up all night because I would overexcite my mind. So to combat that, I started practicing in the afternoon because I wasn't as dead tired as I was in the evening. So I wasn't as inclined to fall asleep. And even if my mind did wander, I could at least work on like bringing it back down and relaxing myself and just practice getting in the sleepy, drowsy state first. And so I would definitely take that into consideration because that one was a total lifesaver for me. Vivian asks, hello, more insights on the umbrella method? General manifestations. The umbrella method. Oh, I think you might be referring to like umbrella beliefs, umbrella assumptions, which is basically the more general assumptions that we carry versus anything specific. And the most important thing that I can say about that is to not overlook the general assumptions that we carry and don't overlook the power that comes with those foundational assumptions, because everything that we experience is based off of those. So it's important to keep in mind, because if we're trying to manifest something specific and it's going directly against a more general belief or assumption that we carry, boom, that's how resistance is born. And that's how it feels like we're fighting uphill. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's just something to be aware of. I made a video talking all about umbrella beliefs. I'll go ahead and post the link in the description of this chat after I'm done. But you can also find it. I believe I have it in my playlist. But yeah, no, good question. It's just something to be very mindful of. It's not I wouldn't say it's a technique per se, but just something to be, again, the observation and being observant. Step one, and the most important first step in conscious creation. Ariel asks, is there a line between being delusional versus feeling it real? That is an awesome question. And I actually just made a video about this that's going to be released, all about feeling the wish fulfilled and in that end state. The important distinction is how we are approaching the end, the wish fulfilled. And like, what are we? So the reason that people feel delusional, the biggest reason that people feel delusional when it comes to this practice is because they're trying to basically pretend and act as if that desire is in their 3D right now. So for example, trying to manifest a specific person, you're doing sats, you're imagining, you're using affirmations, mental diet, and you're pretending like your person is maybe sitting next to you in the car, or sitting with you at dinner, like they're with you in the 3D right now, because that would be the end. The issue with that is that naturally our mind is going to see, with like our senses are going to see that there is no person there. Like, this is not a thing that is physical. So that's going to trigger us feeling delusional. That's why we feel like we're lying to ourselves, because your senses are going to say that's not true. There is nobody there. You're talking to thin air. What is wrong with you? What feeling it real means is that when you are in your imaginal act, when you are using imagination to feel yourself in that state with that person, that's when you want to be bringing in all of the tones of reality and making it feel as real as possible. Outside of that, when we're going about our day to day in the 3D, it's knowing that because we have imagined it, and because imagination is what creates our reality, the imagination precedes the 3D. So knowing that we've done that, it's knowing that it will happen. It will show up in the 3D, not that it's in the 3D right now. Not that it's in the 3D right now. And I understand that this is super confusing. A lot of people get confused about this. And that's why we feel delusional in this practice. So if this is something that you're doing, we don't have to approach it that way. So that's the distinction. It's when you have impressed that imaginal act, it will feel a satisfaction. It will feel like it's it's a done deal. It's going to happen in the 3D. That's the difference. This gal Sal, Missy, how do I send you a success story? Yeah, hell yeah. Type up All right, I just put my email down in the chat box. This gal Sal, definitely shoot me an email. I would love to hear your story, and congrats, congrats, congrats. That is awesome. You are welcome. One asks how to go about revision without being too triggered when you look at the past event you want to revise. Good question. So, understandably, there's events that we've experienced that we can't come close to. We sometimes like can't even touch it without getting very upset or being triggered, and that's understandable. So, if you want to revise something that happened, if there was an event that really affected you, but you don't want to, you can't even think about that without getting upset. The second option is to create a new story, create a new memory, one that would imply that the old story never happened, couldn't have happened. So you don't have to go and, you know, quote unquote, revise that specific event if it is too upsetting to even approach. Like, you can instead create a new story, create a new memory, and play that memory. And that, I had to do that a number of times for the things that I needed to revise that really had an effect on me, that really upset me. That was my go-to. I created a new memory. I created a new story because that's what we're effectively doing anyways. So I hope that helps. And if you need me to clear anything up, let me know. You are so welcome, Ariel. Good. I'm glad I could help clear that up. Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of people get confused about living in the end, and I get it. I get it. It's pretty vague sounding. Charlie asked, if I'm manifesting health, but I'm experiencing symptoms in 3D, how should I handle it? Thank you. Definitely, Charlie, definitely check. I can't talk today. Sorry, guys. Charlie, definitely check out the video that I made talking about manifesting health and physical appearance. I went through something very similar. I manifested a change in an autoimmune disorder that I had that was really, really crappy and really, really painful. So I completely understand how difficult it can feel when the physical symptoms are really digging into us and really overcrowding our mind. Watch that video. I talk more in depth in that one about how I manifested changes in my health. But long story short, utilize the times as much as possible when you are feeling okay. Like if you're in a lot of pain, it's naturally going to feel very difficult in that moment to focus on anything but the pain, and that's normal. But if you are having a moment where you feel good, you're doing all right, take advantage of those moments. Take advantage of those pockets where you can better put yourself in that state and better feel that state of health. But yeah, definitely go check out that video. I talk about it way more in there. Yeah. I've always struggled to believe in the law and feel like I'm trying to feed myself fake hope. Jessica, that's an understand. Like, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think a lot of people, I mean, I certainly, on my 10 plus, oh God, it's going on like 14 years now, on my long ass journey, I've definitely had moments of doubt and struggle. And that, I'd say, is a normal thing to experience. One thing that may help is putting this to the test putting the law to the test, and just imagining and seeing smaller things, things that we're not really attached to, more insignificant things, right? Just things that will help to boost our faith. Another thing that you can do is just look at your life, look back on your own life, right? Look over what was the experiences, what was the circumstances, and what your mindset was at that time. And you will see every time a direct correlation. You will see a direct correlation. Like, we are always, always creating. We're always creating. So, but I get it, and you're not alone. I have some videos about some faith building exercises and things and ways to test the law, put it to practice, because nobody should be just taking my word for any of this. FYI, don't just take my word for this. Put the law to the test, put it to practice, and look over the different ways that the law has played out in your life, knowingly or unknowingly. Yeah. But the more that you do this and the more that you start to really observe, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. Aaron asks, what is manifesting? Awesome question. I made a playlist talking all about it. Check it out. Oh, thank you, Eli. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Missy, I'm sure everyone here agrees you are one of the best when it comes to explaining the law and revision. Thank you. No, thank you for the kind words. Sincerely. Thank you for that. I'm trying to manifest my ex back after multiple breakups, and I don't know what I'm doing to push him away. 5-year relationship on and off with big issues. Yeah. And it can seem it can seem and feel more difficult when there is a story, when there is a history involved, naturally. And it's that story and that history that we keep alive, that keeps us in that perpetual state. So one of the first things that I would recommend doing is revising, is like, do not repeat those old stories. Something that really helped me was realizing that in each moment, every moment, we have a blank slate. We have a completely just open book for whatever we want. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. It doesn't matter what's going to happen or what our fears and anxieties think are going to happen. None of that matters. The past and future aren't even real. They are all concepts. And when I really started to learn and stay present, stay in this moment, and really feel this moment as the person I wanted to be, as the life that I desired to live, that helped get me out of that old story. That helped get me out of that old story. So I know that it's difficult. I know that at times, especially when there's a history, especially when there's been multiple breakups, I had the same, I went through this very similar from what you're describing. Every moment is a blank slate and a fresh start. Doesn't matter if you had a shit fit 5 minutes ago. Right now, you can change. Oh, there's my cat. Oh, thank you, Juan. Oh, you were so good. I miss you. Testing, absolutely. Yeah, testing is very important, guys. If you're struggling with doubts, if you're struggling with keeping the faith, test the law, put it to the test, put it to the test, put it to the test, put it to the test. How did you deal with interacting with your husband in the 3D when you are manifesting a new version of him? When everything you say seems to lead to a fight. Do it in the 3D when you are manifesting a new version of him, when everything you say seems to lead to a fight. Well, one thing that I would recommend, if there seems to be a lot of fighting, if there seems to be a lot of conflict, one of the first things, and I know that it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but we do not want to give our attention and our energy to that fight. We do not want to engage with what we don't want. We do not want to give life to what we do not desire. So if they're showing up in a way that is not cool, that we don't want, that is just crappy, then we need to take the attention away from that, whether that's walking away, whether that's just saying, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm taking, whoop, I get too excited with the hand gestures. And just saying I'm taking a walk, I'm out. Like, do not engage with what you don't want. Do not keep your focus and attention on it, right? So that's probably that is the best thing that you can do in this situation. And then throughout the day to day, as anyone would, imagine. See that version of him. Imagine that version of him. Feel what that would be like if that was the new version of your husband. And just immerse yourself in that. Persist in that. Despite what the 3D is telling you, despite what the 3D circumstances are saying, even if it's the complete opposite, do not interact with it. Walk away from it. And keep persisting in that new imaginal act. Keep imagining. Oh, you are so welcome. You are so welcome, Jessica. Mike asked, can revision completely change the past if you believe it does? And have you ever tried revision to that point? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Revision can completely change the past. And it has for me in many, many ways. 100%. Yeah. Like, there's memories that I have. I know I revised them. I know that they are revised memories, but there's parts of that old story that I do not remember. I don't remember. And good riddance, because I don't want it anyway. All right, I got a couple more. I can do 2 more questions, and then I do have to jet. But Amy, can you talk about the importance of a mental diet? Yes. Mental diet is crucial. Guys. We are creatures of habit at the end of the day. We are in 90% of the time, 90 to 95% of the time, we are in autopilot. And we are reacting and responding subconsciously, like without consciously thinking. We're just doing. So the point of mental diet is to become more aware of these subconscious reactions, your thoughts, inner conversations, all the mental activity of your day. All of these things are clear indicators of the state of consciousness that you are dwelling in, the dominant state of consciousness that you are dwelling in. So if we're not paying attention, it's very easy to not even be aware of what we're doing or why things are happening, because we're just automatically doing them without thinking about it. So the purpose of your mental diet is to observe and be very mindful of what you are consuming, what you are thinking, what is going on in your mind in your day-to-day, for the direct purposes of understanding why things are showing up the way that they are, for understanding if you are in fact moving in that right direction, if your manifestation is working, and to know that to know what needs to change, if there is something that needs to be changed, what exactly it is. So I cannot emphasize enough the importance of a mental diet. And definitely check out the video that I made talking about mental diet if you guys haven't seen it yet, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, because there's a misconception that mental diet means that we're just sitting there flipping thoughts all day, all day, all day. That's not mental diet. That will drive you batshit. I don't recommend doing it. It's just being aware of where you are in consciousness and where is your focus and where is your attention more often than not. If that focus, if that attention, if that mindset is not ideal, if it is not desirable, if you spend your day fighting internally, if you're having all sorts of really crappy negative conversations, inner conversations, if you are reacting constantly, like these are all the indicators that are telling you exactly what needs to be changed and why things are showing up the way that they're showing up. So do not overlook the mental diet, guys. Yes, it will replay. Yeah. I'm gonna be saving this so you guys will be able to come back to it, or if whoever couldn't make it today will be able to come back to this later. I'm also gonna be doing this again Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. So definitely, if you're all able to make it again, come join me. But I want to make this at least once a week thing because I miss all of you. I miss getting content out there. So yeah, next time at 10 a.m., but this one will be able to be replayed after the fact. Can I do a dropping the seed meditation? Ooh, yeah. Actually, that's a really good idea. I like that. Okay. So I'll do a couple more really quick because they're quick ones. KJ Broccoli, is it possible to manifest a married person? I know it's controversial. I know people get all up in arms about it, but yes, you can manifest anything, 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 anything. How to manifest an SP when he doesn't know I exist, but I know him? How do I think he loves me and wants me when he doesn't know me? Rainy, doesn't matter. Does not matter. If he doesn't know you, it doesn't know you from Adam, doesn't know you exist, does not matter. You can manifest a person regardless. The same way that you manifest anything else, the same way that you have always manifested things in your life. Use the imagination and go to the end. Imagine yourself and him together. Imagine the two of you and persist in that imaginal scene. Persist in that feeling. Yeah. It doesn't matter if he's on the other side of the world and has never met you before. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. What do you think about coaches who say only focus on what do you think about coaches who say go only focus on self-concept and that when you don't care about SP anymore is when they'll come back? So I do absolutely agree that self-concept is everything. It's everything. It's everything. It's everything. I wouldn't say that you get to a place where you don't care anymore. I wouldn't word it like that. I wouldn't word it like that. You do get to a place where you feel at peace, you feel calm, you feel centered, you feel stable. I mean, from my experience, what I went through when I reached the Sabbath, when I knew that it was done, it was a very calm but confident knowing. As sure as I knew that my name was Missy Renee, I knew that it was done. I knew it was done. But would I say that I stopped caring about my person? No. No, I wouldn't. No, absolutely. I still loved him fiercely. I just was no longer showing up in that old, scared, anxious, insecure manner. I wasn't showing up in that state. I was adamant to not give the attention to that state of consciousness. So, yes, self concept is everything. It's very important when it comes to manifesting an SP or manifesting anything. Your self concept determines what will manifest for you, what you are going to experience in the 3D. But I wouldn't say you need to get to a place where you stop caring. That's no, not the most accurate. Oh, oh my God, you guys. I would love to stay here all day and keep talking to you. I'm sorry if anyone got skipped. A lot of people had questions. I'm trying to get through as many as I can, but I will be back Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, and I'll go ahead and be making posts about that. I'll be updating y'all about that. So definitely come back and join me then if you can. And again, love you all so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was super fun. I miss this so much. So until next time, y'all, remember no matter what, you are powerful. You are in charge. You are the operant power. Keep persisting. Much love. Much love, y'all.